Welcome to Breezing with Bierman, the podcast. Before I say anything more, please subscribe to my channel on YouTube, listen to me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and other great social media platforms. Today's BWB guest um, is, let me see, I can't even read my handwriting. We're going to explore her life origins, where she came from, where she's headed. She's also an expert in the key trends, challenges and opportunities that are shaping the Asian blockchain market. Please welcome the Blockchain Asia blogger, social media pundit, expert, Coco Kee. I love that name, Coco Kee. I have to say it goes well. Coco Kee. I
Thank
feel like
you.
I'm
I
introducing
know.
I'm introducing a stand-up comic. Before we even start, I ran into you at a party and you were telling me about how you're an entrepreneur, how you're into, blockchain and everything else. But how did this all start? Who are you? Where did you come from? Why are you in New Jersey now?
Yes, I come from nowhere.
I feel
Yeah,
like that
so
sometimes. Yes.
I know. Yes, it's a mystery. Just kidding. I came from China originally, and then I came to US 2000 for business school at UC Berkeley for 2 years between 2000 and 2002, and then I after that I moved to New York, and I spent 18 years in New York. Um, and until 3.5 years ago, for family reason, my husband and I moved out of New York to Princeton. So that's a very simple version of my life path.
But what kind of woman were you? When you came to UC Berkeley, were you planning to stay in the US? Did you have a driving desire for the land of the free, home of the brave kind of thing, or what?
I actually was very curious about what US was. And so when I landed in Berkeley, it was eye-opening experience between 2000 and 2002. You know that it was very, very unique time. I went through the 9/11. I went through the tech bubbles burst. Although I spent a lot of time studying there, but I also got the chance to launch a startup together with two other Berkeley alumni. So I experienced the entrepreneurship the first time in the US, and I really enjoy the time there, and I learned so much. Although the tech bubble burst and also the 9/11 events were very scary to me, but that really prepared me mentally for the years to come.
Mhm.
I had the chance to go back to China after I graduated from business school, and quite some companies, employers offer me very good jobs back in China. But I just told myself, I said, I came all the way to the US. I wanted to stay and learn more about it before I went back.
Mhm.
That's why in 2002, after I graduated, I had no job offer, no, no, no job offer, nothing, because the economy was very bad after the
Right.
tech bubble. So I decided to pack all my t-shirts and bathing suits
Right.
and move to New York to
Wow.
try my luck there.
Just to tell the listeners, readers, would be both. You study business with a background in technology. What kind of were you a
Yes,
precocious child too? Growing up though, were you always interested in business and science and
yeah.
hard lessons, what I call the hard disciplines?
Uh, Actually, I when I was in China, I studied at Peking University or Beijing University. My degree was English, American literature with a master degree of American theater.
Mhm.
So I had no clue about
Really?
technology at all. And I didn't mean to work in technology or things. But at that time, a lot of foreign investment, direct investment came to China, including Warner Brothers. So I was the one who helped Warner Brothers enter China
Oh
with
my
their
gosh.
movies. And also automotive companies came to China and industrial products and companies, a lot of investment came to China. So I was able to get involved and help many companies, foreign companies, both UK and US companies and other European companies to do business in China. And so it opened my eyes to not just literature, theater, but also something else, but still very traditional, though, traditional industrial business.
Right.
So I didn't know anything about even internet until I came to Berkeley. So I
Wow.
was pulled in by the two Berkeley alumni and say, hey, since you are here, we need labor. We need free labor. So I became a co-founder with together with them, although I had no idea what it was about, what I was doing. So I was just learning through doing.
I like that though.
Um,
You weren't afraid though to take up a chat, like fake it till you make it and just go on. And you
exactly,
were cheap labor as a grad
exactly.
student and everything.
Yes, and I would tell you a funny joke because we would all try to raise money for our startup, and we only had one business plan because I also wrote quite some of that. Nowadays, nobody write
What was the
makes business
startup
plan.
though? What was the startup?
A startup was a software
Software.
company
Okay.
that help you know websites to transfer content globally. So that was something very simple. It sounds difficult, but it's not a problem at all nowadays. But at that time, it was very high tech. So I helped wrote the business plan and then help try to reach out to as many people as possible. So one day, a friend of mine said, Coco, I got a contact for you. Why don't you call this guy? So I got the number and email, and I reached out to this person, like chatted with him. And I said, yes, this is what we try to do. Take a look, invest in us. And then two other founders were listening next to me and say, Coco, who are you talking to? I said, oh, this guy, his name is Mike Morris. I
Mhm.
said, do you know who he is? I said,
Who
I
is
have
he?
no
No, I
clue.
don't either.
He is a pioneer in Silicon Valley's VC investment.
Oh
He's
my
a
God.
big shot of called Sequoia
I'm running down the
venture
name.
capital founder, Michael Morris.
So you weren't
He
intimidated because you didn't even know what you were, you know, no.
something like no no idea, no fear. And so
Right.
that's what I did. So just up chatting with him. People, the two other founder were like shocked to say, "Oh my God, you don't even know who you're talking about," and you just chatted with him. So this is the bizarre thing that I went through, but it was very, very exciting.
Did you get any money?
Yes, we raised
Wow.
about 1 million angel. We only had a deck and a business plan, nothing else.
That would
So that
be
was the peak of the bubble.
right, right.
Of the
My brother
bubble.
went through that. And people were throwing money at a lot of things. I'm not saying you weren't good, but people were
Yes,
throwing money, right? This is it. This is the new
yes,
thing. And it's just go.
exactly. And at that time, nobody even thought about whether there would be a bust, because boom and bust, right, always come together side by side, but nobody thought that a winter would come.
Oh yeah, yeah. I don't understand
We'll
America
always
like
be in a
that. It's
bubble.
so short-sighted. I mean, it's just common sense. You're throwing money at this, and you just look at history. Blah, 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 it
Yes,
goes up and down. I mean, you don't have to
always,
be an
always like
economist to
that.
know that. And
Yeah. But for me, I had no idea about this kind of cycle because in China we didn't have much of this kind of cycle. Many things were managed by this central planned economy. So a lot of things were
yeah,
managed. That's why it was my first time to witness this cycle, especially technology cycle.
you're the Wild West, and we just shed jobs quickly. Boom, you're out. I
Oh
mean, one
yes,
day you're riding high, the next day, my brother went through that. Like, I mean, he was six figures flying to Seattle. The next day, he's trying to drive Uber or something. I mean, just the bottom fell out, to try to
and
make
where
ends
is he
meet.
now? What
Um,
did he do?
he got
Did he
into social
succeed?
media and
Okay.
sales, but never really reached. Also, there was, I have to say, ageism, age discrimination. He reached a certain age and people were not as interested in him. I guess they can get people cheaper. A lot of people coming out, especially in the Northeast and even on the West Coast too. So yeah, it
Yes, a
was
lot of
it
young
was
people out
difficult.
of college. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
So
difficult. Well,
Was
that
it
kind of,
hard?
I guess we have time. I'm always very informal. But now, so you get married. Why'd you get married though? Didn't you want to be single, ready to mingle and job and love and everything? Or do you have kids? I mean, what?
Yeah, no, no. So I didn't plan anything. So I came to New York, and New York, how New York is like the dating scene, and I just felt like
Actually,
it
no, but
was
I've heard.
it was crazy. It was crazy. I think
Mhm.
people were running around. People just dated multiple people
Oh, speed
um,
dating and all that kind of
at the
stuff.
same time.
Mhm.
No, they have multiple, you know, for example, boyfriends at the same time.
Mhm.
And then they would say, oh, we are not exclusive. So that's something very different. It's something so culturally different from how I was brought up.
Oh, I
And
see.
so I
Right.
was I was listening to that, and I was shocked
Mhm.
because when I was brought up, when I went to university in Beijing, Peking University, my mother wrote me letters every month, snail mail at that time.
Mhm.
And she said, promise me, study hard and never go out with any boy unless you decide to marry that person.
It sounds
How
like
could it
Victor.
be?
That sounds like the Victorian
Exactly.
age to me. I mean, that
Oh,
was what?
yes.
That was in the 1990s though, China? Your mom?
Yes, but that's
Oh,
how I was brought up with. So
gotcha.
my family were very strict, very, very conservative. But that so you understand how difficult it was for me when I came to New York. It's so hard to understand the
Right.
dating scene. The learning curve was very steep. So it was hard. I would it, you know, when I got there, it took me 5, 6 years. Finally met my husband, and then we fell in love, and then within months we decided to marry.
Really?
So
You just knew.
yes, we just knew because we met at
Is he Chinese? Was he?
no, he's New
No.
Yorker.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
wow.
New Yorker. So we met at a charity event called All NBA uh something, or NBA Corp, which is an organization that his friend or alum set up to help underrepresented um, groups, for example, African Americans. So help them build business. So that's a charity group, that event that I attended, and he was there to support his friend, his alum. So we met and chatted. I tried to pick his brand at that time. I was working there to pick my husband, the future husband's brain about pricing strategy. So he said,
Oh, I
okay,
thought you
let's
were
get
say you were trying
together.
to pick up. You wanted pricing
No,
strategy.
to pick his brain
Okay.
about pricing
You're all
strategy.
business.
And
You're all business. I like that.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
I know,
And
all business. I meant serious business at that
yeah.
time. So he said, okay, let's have a grab a coffee. And then so we got together and we just grabbed coffee. Actually, we had brunch, and the brunch lasted like 8 hours.
The conversation started and really never ended for the rest of your life
Yeah.
now.
So that
Okay.
so the pricing strategy only spent about 5 minutes, and then the rest was all other things. So he asked me, just like what you did, he asked me about my experience, my life, and then we just keep going. And he just like we continue, and then after that, we returned back to our own apartments, cleaned up, and then we at the first official date that night at the formal
You
restaurant.
had a date that night. He asked you
Yes,
after the 8 hour, whatever it
after
was.
eight
Mm,
hours of conversation, and then the rest is the history. So
wow.
yes,
So there to any single woman out there, or man, or whatever it is, when you least expect it, you're not looking for it, you're doing your thing. Bingo, it happens. Kismet.
exactly. I think that should be the strategy, because so many women, oh, at that time in New York, they were they had all the books about
Oh
strategies of
yeah.
dating a
Sex in the
guy or
City was
something.
on. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
enjoy Sex in the City a lot.
Yeah.
That's also something that I learned about American dating scene. But when it comes to me, I in the end, I just say I don't want to deal with that. I just live my life.
Right.
If the person comes and the right guy, Mr. Right comes, then good, I'm
Right.
lucky. If not, it's okay.
Right. Right. What did your mom say? What did your mom?
My mom already passed away.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry. Okay,
both
I got
my
you.
parents passed away
Oh, I'm
when
sorry.
I
Okay,
was
that's too bad. Oh, they
still
would have met
in
him.
college and
What
right out of
you
college.
think they would have liked him, your husband?
Then the whole story would be very different. My mother
Oh,
may
okay.
say, mm-mm,
Oh,
mm-mm.
okay, okay.
We have to check our family's policies and
Oh.
regulations.
They would okay. It would have been another kind of movie. Guess who's coming to dinner?
Exactly.
So to speak.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember Yoko Ono said she was Japanese when she brought John Lennon home to her Japanese relatives. They looked at him like some albino albatross. Like, what are you bringing? Like fine, but to marry you have to be joking. I mean, it goes against centuries of this and that. But you and your husband, what you have a lot in common. Usually, people who do get married have a lot in common. So you have a lot in common when it comes to
Yes.
values, business.
Yes. Actually, we are so much alike. His family, he was brought up in a very in a family that he shared a lot of values that was my family. So yes, we are alike in many many ways. So it's very unusual. So yeah, and
Gotcha.
even for example, his father always try to turn the light off whenever they whenever they move to one from one room to the other, right? I brought up in China, my mother always told me, do not waste any electricity. It's a sin. So, and then so when I saw my mother-in-law always complains, saying, "Oh, my husband always turn the light off and keep the room so dark." I said, "Yes, we share the value. We
Yeah,
share the
I'm like my wife thinks I'm
value."
neurotic as hell, but I'm the same way. I just hate it. I hate it. I think hopefully in old age I won't get dementia and like they're gonna have to tie me down if I see a light on and I want to turn it off. To me, yeah, it's just something you shouldn't do. No,
Yeah.
time's moving on. So I guess we got to switch kind of, even though we have a great flow of conversation. You're doing now when I met you at the party, the Asian block. What is Asian blockchain? And is it exclusively in Asia you're dealing with the Asian culture, business culture, regulatory scene or something?
Yeah. No, Blockchain Asia is my blog, and Blockchain Asia podcast is my podcast. So my business is not just about Asia. So my husband and I, we own advisory and investment business totally owned by ourselves. And so we work with early stage founders in blockchain, digital, crypto asset industry
Mhm.
and help them grow their business. And that is what we do. The reason that I write Blockchain Asia blog and the podcast, um, two. One is because I live in the US, I listen to and read US updated industry information day in and day out. I feel that sometimes I'm in an echo chamber,
Right. See,
same
that's easy to fall
information
into. You kind of get myopic.
is yes. So I try to pull myself out of it and to follow things outside of US. And for blockchain digital crypto asset business industry, it is a very global business.
Mhm.
And I try to also tell my American uh, peers that should also look outside of US to hedge and also to learn from what people from outside the US are doing. Because if you look at the internet development, in the beginning, a lot of core technology starts from the US, but as it develops, more and more applications, the best application actually come out of US. So,
Mhm.
for example, WeChat, the super app that Elon Musk dreams of building is built by Chinese.
Oh, really?
And
So we do need each
yes,
other. Hmm.
yes, we do need each other. That's why I always want to see, how things are going outside the US. Plus, it's the best way to diversify and hedge because of the regulatory battles
Yeah, that's what
ongoing in this country.
it sounds like the two different worlds, and then you have these regulatory battles and the political ambiance also affects that. And people use short-term political gain to go China bash, vice versa. And it really helps, like it hurts like the economic landscape, doesn't it? If that makes sense
Exactly.
what I just
Yes.
said.
So more and more American companies now diversify. They set up their headquarters, for example, in Singapore, um, after they are hammered left and right by the regulators here, and the industry continues to push for regulatory transparency and clarity and legislation. But it seems like it would take forever to get there. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
more and more American companies start to set out a business or their headquarters outside of US, which is bad because then you just lose a lot of talents and also employment to other countries. So
Right.
that's why I track the industry developments outside of US for all these reasons.
And China, their economy is suffering right now, housing and the internal demand, internal consumption. So China does need the U.S. to hopefully come back on board though too, and maybe that could help stabilize tensions. I mean, does that make any
Yeah,
sense in a way to help?
I think the relationship is definitely far from what it was because the honeymoon was in 90s 20s, and but nowadays I think both sides decide to cool it down, and if not divorcing, they want to at least keep some distance from each other. And it's not just only US but China too. They
Right,
want
right.
to to reevaluate the relation between the two countries and to identify ways to work together. But I
Mhm.
think two countries are are the relations evolving from in the beginning very close partners to competitors because China is growing very fast. The technology, a lot of things are sometimes even better than US. And so they also thought they could do okay without the US,
Right, right.
but they could be wrong. Both countries may still need each other. So we need both sides administrations to understand what exactly should be the way to be with each other.
Mhm. Right. What is China's strong point though? More better than the U.S. AI or their R&D is still intensive and what state centric.
Yeah, so in for example, electric vehicle EV, China is way ahead of US. It's now even exporting all over the world,
Really?
especially when it comes to EVs, battery manufacturing and technology. Also, sustainability, sustainable energy, for example, solar and windmill, that kind of technology. China is very advanced.
Wow.
And also the transportation, for example, high-speed trains.
Right.
It's all over the country. And the US is still trying to put on the first one. We don't know when it will
It's so hard
happen.
to build anything. California, it's overregulated. I mean, it takes forever just to do anything. Built, 1 mile of train, $5 billion. It's just
I
we
know.
have to streamline things. You know, I'm
I
not
know.
I'm not Ayn Rand laissez-faire, but it's just insane. Some of this, right? Maybe they meant well, but it was crazy.
It takes forever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it kills us. Um,
exactly.
how do
But
you
I
what?
want to tell you one
Sorry,
anecdote. Not long ago, this group, PAC, hosted a, a dialogue session with our mayor in Princeton. And then
is
one
that
member
Princeton
of the
Active Circle, Pat? Is that Princeton Act?
yes,
Oh yes, okay,
yes,
yes, yes.
yes.
We're in
So you
Princeton,
know
New Jersey, by the
David
way. So
is
it's called
actually
Princeton Active
yes,
Circle, and that's largely Chinese immigrant or Chinese, but it doesn't have to be. Anyway,
yes, doesn't have to be. It's open to everybody.
right.
And so at the section, one member asked a question to the mayors, why it takes so long to build the bridge or the road. And the mayor said, this is America. We need a
It's
lot of
true.
consensus and agreement from both different parties, different parties involved in a particular project. So it's not as easy as you think.
Yeah, I mean, it's still rooted in my opinion, in this pluses and minuses. We threw out the King of England. We wanted home rule. Local people should make local decisions. But then we have local, we have county, we have state, we have federal. Now we have the EPA. And yeah, just to fix the bridge for those who know Alexander Road Bridge into West Windsor, my God, it was three municipalities, Plainsboro, West Windsor, Princeton, the EPA. Then they found like a little bird that they had to be, oh, it went on, and the cost goes. Blah, 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 blah. Sometimes I want to be maybe not China, maybe France, though, just streamline it. Like everyone knows all sixth graders on the same history page at one time. Maybe. Any more stories like that? Because you have a cultural divide. You're in two cultures, and business cultures at least.
Just 1 second, because my dog is barking. My
Oh,
dog Lucy. I have a golden doodle and Lucy, so which is wonderful. Only after I moved to Jersey, Princeton, I just realized it's the perfect place to have a dog. Otherwise, in New York, it's I think it's not fair to
right.
have a dog. So
Unless you can,
Princeton is perfect.
right.
Yeah.
They don't shed,
Yeah.
right? Golden doodles don't shed
No,
or
not
something.
at all. Not at all. Golden Doodle is great. Doesn't shed and really smart. Really smart.
We used to
So
ride my golden retriever on a bicycle and everything, and that worked. But I even remember when dogs could run free. But everything was open. There's more traffic these days. I understand that and everything. But yeah, so and we had
yes.
another dog. We would play wrestle and exhausted and everything. It was a
Yeah.
lapso crazy dog, and we used to have like
Yeah.
these battles in the living room. We would, look at each other, then charge and stuff. We're getting off on that. Anyway, you
Yeah.
bridge. What I'm interested though is in our we have so God, time's going too fast. We have to do also questions from Princetonians. But you're
Yeah.
business, you're bridging a lot of worlds here with I guess one question is, maybe if you can say in 2 minutes or less if possible. If not, don't worry about it. What are some of the bonehead moves startups do that you keep on seeing and seeing and seeing?
What is your question again?
What are the kind of the same dumb moves that you see startups do when you advise them that you keep on seeing the same mistakes by beginning companies?
Biggest mistake or the problem is the it is the founder is chasing an idea that he himself enjoys. However, he without testing whether there is a real market need and whether this idea really address the pain point, the real pain point.
So really, ideology, tyranny of ideology, they just get lost in that and they don't think about the basic common sense, the pain point.
Exactly. So you have to go out and test because you can come up with any idea and you believe that this is something that be worth $1 billion. But if you don't solve any problem, if nobody wants to buy it, it is nothing.
That's the magical thinking of youth. I think I had that in my 20s too. I mean, it's true. You just think everyone should be enamored with this.
Yes. However, the problem is it is it is it needs a lot of courage to go out and test your idea to find out whether this is nonsense or not. But a lot of founders don't want to face the reality.
Really?
So they try to delay it, and they try to wrap themselves up in a kind of, you know, illusion or
I call
something.
it embryonic their own embryonic fluid, their little cocoon of delusion or something. That's so sad. You think they'd have the pain principle because to be an entrepreneur, you have to deal with ambiguity and pain and also learn from it. You might have a great idea, but people aren't ready for it. Who knows? You got to try though, right?
That's totally the case. Yes.
And then they pay you though to try to, so you have to be like a psychiatrist sometimes.
No, no, we invest. We also sit on a advisory board,
Gotcha.
and we share our experience and resources because both my husband and I we came from entrepreneurship background.
Hmm.
We did startups, multiple ones before, So we know from beginning to the end what in and out what a startup is about.
So you have a proven track record too, then. I mean, you
Yes.
feel proud of.
Yes, of course.
Right, right.
Yes.
So how do people find out about you? Word of mouth, or you're on link, you advertise, or
Word of mouth or through people we know. And so they refer the founders to us. And
oh,
but we are very selective right now. We have helped a good number of startups, and now some of them are already in mid to late stages. And then we now just try to identify the founders who really are inspiring and we will enjoy working with.
I like that though because I trust you now because you're not sweating for money, even though people want to make money, of course. You're like, no, I want to do things right. You only want to work with people you think you can work with and you can lead them someplace. You're not going to waste anyone's time, and you rest on your
Yeah,
track record. How can people
that's
reach you if they
right.
want to reach you though? We should put the plug in now before we forget.
LinkedIn. So Coco
LinkedIn,
Key, you can find me CocoKee
hard
in
to forget.
LinkedIn. So
Coco
yeah,
Key. Yeah.
yes,
Okay,
and
let's go
my
from these are just random questions from Princetonians, faces in the crowd. Maybe you can answer them, but they're pretty, we'll see because it's like being pulled out of a hat. Sam Bank-Friedman, what would you say to him? Well, I guess he's in jail, but if you could see him in jail, what would you say to the man? What was the cryptocurrency fraud guy? If you could talk to him, what would you say? This is from Alice, who literally I met on the street. Hmm.
I would say, Sam, you're crazy.
Why? How?
He can do things and he just let things grow too big, too fast without really knowing what he's doing. In the end, he just lost track of his company and it becomes just like he like running a student club without
Mhm.
not a business, serious business. And he should think about uh, the shareholders, his responsibilities for those shareholders. But no, he didn't treat it in that way.
Yeah, I
He
think
he was
it
like a
was like
student.
a very greedy child who got out of control and thought he was invincible or something like to that. I mean, it was weird.
Yes, I think the early success just made him lose his mind and lose
But
his head.
well, he can
It's a
lose it in
pity.
jail now. Um, Me and my friends went into cryptocurrency and we lost money. Are we idiots to invest in cryptocurrency? I don't, that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Everyone I know, this was the layman like me. Adam, I'm going to be a millionaire in 2 weeks. I'm going to cryptocurrency. No one makes money. Is that what usually happens? If you just go in there
No,
blindly?
actually, the old school of this industry believe in the first is the Bitcoin. So people,
Bitcoin. That's what, yes.
Bitcoin, the technology itself has a lot of applications, and also the Bitcoin as asset class now um, has Bitcoin ETF approved by SEC and
Oh, it
big
has been by the
banks.
SEC. Okay.
Yes, SEC approved Bitcoin ETF and also Ethereum ETH ETF also approved by SEC. So you can, if you are risk averse, you don't want to take too much risk and you don't understand too much of the industry. I think the ETF it's a safe bet. You can start from small to understand more. If you don't understand the industry, I do not recommend people to invest in crypto because
Okay.
it
Then I'm
it,
going to
it
tell my
requires a
friends.
lot of knowledge.
Yeah, and yeah, and they don't invest that time and that knowledge. And then I guess finally we have about 3 minutes. Emerging trends. That's a big question. Emerging trends in in the field. What do you see? I mean, from okay, we'll do CIA type thing. Next 5 years at least, if you could predict.
I would say that AI will play more and more role in in the in our life. Like since I came from blockchain, crypto, digital, I would see AI will converge with blockchain technology
Yeah,
and
interesting.
blockchain will make AI more decentralized instead of letting just top two, three big tech companies control AI and control all the data.
Gotcha.
That would not be good.
Right. A
So watch
lot of
out for
new
that
billion
trend.
with AI. Final question. I think we talked about this before, but I've been asked again. China attacking Taiwan. Okay, Betty not. That's a serious question though, and that could really disrupt a lot of things in this world. I mean, the Ukraine war showed that supply chain on up.
Um, you mean what China would? Oh, you mean the war
A
between
war,
China and
some kind
Taiwan,
of
right?
incursion from China, which again, even the Ukraine showed how fragile I think our economic system is, because it
Mhm.
affects a lot of things, in my
Yeah,
opinion, from.
I would say that in the near future, China and Taiwan would remain um, the status quo for now, unless Taiwan takes a stronger stance and wants to claim independence from China. So if Taiwan just stay as it is, um, maybe the status quo will be what we see now.
Okay. Well, Coco Key, we have to stop with that. And again, tell everyone how they can reach you. You have a proven track record. You've made a lot of people money, and you also, yeah, you have a lot of integrity. So, I mean, people can trust you. So, how can they reach you again? Besides, is LinkedIn the best way?
Yeah, LinkedIn, and then also if people are interested in my blog and podcast, can visit Coco blockchainasia.substack.com.
Is that in Chinese
Substack.
too? Do you convert it into
No,
Mandarin?
no, this is all English. All English. So Substack is Substack. So blockchainasia.substack.com. That's my blog, and you will see my podcast there too.
Okay. Well, thank you, Coco, and raise about $1,000 for my pot. I'm just joking. I'm joking. I'm cheap. I'm a cheap businessman. Okay. Thank you very much,
Great.
and good luck.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, stop.